Smart 24, driving business.
All right, it's a good Friday morning here. Smart means business. How are you doing? This is Smart 24 TV, where we do kickstart off your morning with details regarding business matters. I want to hope that you're doing fine, because it is a day just like no other. But the only different side of it is the fact that today is a public holiday. The streets of Kampala clearly show you why the atmosphere is one filled with public holiday celebrations. I don't know whether you've been fasting though, because today is the day when most of the Christians will be getting out of their fasting period. That is the Lent period. Easter holidays do kick off today. Ideally, they kicked off yesterday. That is with the Holy Thursdays. That is when most of the workers broke off from work, and they will only be returning on Tuesday next week. So it's a 4-day holidays for most of the people who are working in different offices, apart from the essential workers, obviously. But of course, it's a Friday here, the last day of the week on your daily Kickstarter, the last day when we give you these details that you'll definitely need to be part of. But of course, as we continue giving you all these updates, and as we continue to give you all these details, you need to as well keep up to speed with the narrative of understanding how good and how important the world has been. Well, and besides that, the world of business is one that you should be able to choose. Today is Good Friday, and it may not be possible for you to invest in Zabu. But only good thing that you can do today is to register with the platform. Yes, *292# is the USSD code that you can use. Well, you may not invest today for those who have the account, because it is already a public holiday, but you can easily, again, kickstart off your investment next week on Monday. Today, all you need to do is register. Use the NIN to register. That is your national identification number, and then you will now be able to invest. But once the platform is open for you, investment is as possible as you can get it. With just a minimum of 15,000 Ugandan shillings, you will be able to invest in government bonds and, of course, other securities on the Zabu platform. Zabu says, my money, my future, and the markets on the platform open at 8:15 a.m. and their closing time is 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. And the platform is powered by Altex East Africa, which reminds you to do something new. Zabu, my money, my future. And now, we turn our eyes to our first business update this morning, which is rotating around women empowerment. When you look at women empowerment or empowering women in all disciplines of business, this has been a very huge argument in the country that we're living in currently. Because when you look at the fact that besides the Women's Month of March, where celebrations were rotating around Women's Day, where celebrations were rotating around how possible can we put people into class, what should I say, clusters of the same, the same potentials with men, where we do not have this kind of gender inequality discussions, where we don't have this issue to do with patriarchy, or having all these issues to do with male chauvinism in the world of business or even in society. So empowering women has always gone back to how best can we include women in conversations, in discussions to do with business, and empowering them that they can become what we think they can. Because sometimes you get to realize that the discussions we normally have are rotating around how can this lady do such and such a thing, or how can we put this woman in this position. We've seen chief executive officers positions being held by women, and they are doing wonders, trust me, they are doing wonders. And then we've seen others in the political spaces, and of course that is something that we really need to look back and say, well, if we are to empower women, we need to start from the grassroots, from the households, and of course is into the young children, the young girls out there, so that they can easily know that what a woman can do, then what a man can do, then a woman can do, or even do better. So empowering women does not only go back to empowering them and forcing them or pushing them harder, but also supporting them. Support comes in quite many ways, trust me. Support may come in a financial way, or it can come in upskilling these people, trying to teach them new things every other day that passes by, trying to teach them to at least adopt to a new kind of lifestyle, or trying to put them into a picture of understanding that, well, regardless of the limits or regardless of the competition in the world, you as a woman can get deeper in understanding and lead or drive conversations of business. I don't know whether you celebrate any woman out there, whether it's your mother, whether it's your wife, or whether it's a cousin or relative who is in big positions, or who is as independent as it gets, or who is very supportive. Those are things, or those are reasons as to why we look back and say women empowerment should be very crucial. And now, besides that, with our update this morning, we turn our eyes to women empowerment, understanding how to overcome, and then how women can position themselves into this current world of business.
And we are going to disburse today 3,097,000,000 in this occasion. And we want to show the rest of the districts out there that so long as you recover this money and you get groups to apply for this money, you are still able to be supported to get the money. And that it is important that this money is recovered, because Cabinet, sitting on 28th March 2022, chaired by His Excellency the President, has directed that any money that we collect back will now be plowed back into WEP and YLP, and we continue revolving. So I'm glad that as of yesterday, the team at the ministry has indicated, because in this particular cycle of this financial year, we had 34.7 billion, which had been recovered, and that is what we are again disbursing this financial year. Already, I think by middle of third quarter, we had recovery of about 9 billion, according to my team, which means that actually people are not only borrowing this money, but they are also paying back, which is very important. It's very important for us because the Uganda Women's Entrepreneurship Program and YLP together has shown us as a ministry that intervention like this for empowerment of women and youth is important. We all know that youth and women do not have collateral to borrow. In some of the banks, they will ask you, give land title, give this. But this money, you don't need land title to borrow. You don't need any vehicle logbook to borrow. You just need collateral of group members. That group members are standing and saying that we are borrowing in a group, and within our group we'll make sure we lend amongst our members, and as a group we will recover and give it back. So it has shown that interventions actually for the vulnerable community doesn't need to be anchored on collateral for them to get capital to start businesses. It has also shown that many people out there are willing to work hard so long as they can get any little capital that can give them some leverage to start businesses, and that it is important to have something for a person to start up, because we have seen majority of the people who have borrowed this money and utilize it have now been able to graduate from a WEP and YLP to borrowing from banks. after they have made profit, their businesses have stabilized. The research I've seen in my report is showing that at least about 52% of the beneficiaries have moved from the last 2 years, have moved from borrowing now from a WEP and YLP to now borrowing from banks. And there are people who are now borrowing up to 50 million from banks. But the foundation, so it is showing that the foundation is very important for the vulnerable community. Also important for me is a lesson I've learned when I toured the project, that in most of these circumstances, people who have borrowed this money have been able to support and expand. When I was in Shirohura, I found women who started as those who were collecting milk. But by the time I reached there, they had moved to doing yogurt. So you can see that it is important to have a program like this. And so far, the ministry has partnered with the many stakeholders to ensure that this program succeeds. Because we know that in a society where women and youth constitute more than 60% combined, youth and women, actually we are over 70% if you combine youth and women. The older persons are very few. But the statistics, if you combine youth and women together, they are over 70% of the total population. So a program that will empower women and youth is a very important program for a country, because a country that does not empower its population, that country cannot develop its human resource. And yet human resource is the fundamental aspect of pushing the economy in form of labor, in terms of productivity, in terms of stimulating the economy through work and through investment.
And of course, when you look at that kind of situation, you realize women and the government is intending to have these recovery funds for the women to boost them, to boost their businesses, especially 3.97 billion going through SACCOs. This is money that is actually going to women in entrepreneurship. And speaking of women in entrepreneurship, these are some of the women who register under different savings groups. So these saving groups are like an identity for the women to ideally know, if I am to say, because they get to understand what is happening, or at least they get to share ideas, yeah, for lack of a better word. They get to share ideas, they get to interact. Now, during these interactions and the discussions and conversations they normally have as women include how they can become greater parents, great mothers, how they can become, great leaders at home, at their family, in their respective families. Then, they have these discussions of who to support and how they can actually get into different kinds of, initiatives by government. So the 3.97 billion is ideally going to help, what you could actually say, help these women in entrepreneurship to at least access, credit, money on credit, to at least add into their businesses. This is to see their businesses blossom or to boost their businesses. For example, sometimes you realize women have challenges with capital, or most of them have issues to do with expanding their businesses. They tend to feel more comfortable by managing a small business, a business that will at least bring them daily food, have some profit for their savings, and all that. So when you look at that kind of situation, the way women drive their business, it can easily tell you that women don't rush into taking these risks immediately, until it is worth a risk. So because of the fact that they first of all need to safeguard their businesses, they tend not to over-risk it all, just like men in business, because men are known to be very much of a risk taker, and at times it does seem to be very worth it, but then again at times it never ceases to be. But also, putting that aside, you get to as well try to understand the clear picture of women in business, especially Ugandan women in entrepreneurship. We've seen many starting up businesses, and not only the kind of businesses that they've actually been able to start up, but also you get to realize that the more government interacts with these women, or the more these women share their ideas with government, it becomes very easier for government to push through with their kind of initiatives. And so that's it for our current business update this morning. Now, besides that, we turn our eyes to the press review this morning. Review the Daily Monitor and the New Vision, highlighting something to do with Minister Chitutu, who was yesterday remanded to Chitalia, that is remanded to Luzira, facing charges over the Iron Sheet saga and mishandling this particular one. Now she will return to court on the 12th of April this year. She was, of course, sent to prison together with her brother in that same space. Of course, it was something that has been trending all over the media. Now, besides that, Easter holidays, what you need to do and what you need to know about celebrating Easter and how prepared are you for the celebrations. Now, besides that, with the Daily Monitor, the Lord Mayor, Lukwago, is seeking answers over 10 billion shillings, which was spent on taxi park works. Those are questions that he wants answered, according to the Daily Monitor. And then also, on the other hand, Uganda Revenue Authority seeks to collect 29 trillion in taxes. Of course, that is the Daily Monitor pictorial here. There is John R. Musinguzi, who is the Commissioner General of the Uganda Revenue Authority in there. Now, besides that, financial hardships, lock learners out of school, according to another concern here with the Daily Monitor. And then the UPDF recovers 2 guns, 33 heads of cattle. That is from the Karimajong warriors. As more details come in, as the Church of Uganda Bishop, that is Bishop Kazimba, has asked ministers to return iron sheets before the masses get angry, and of course, so that they can get more blessings from the Almighty. And of course, that is it for our press review this morning. Well, besides that, before we actually head into the break, you get to realize that besides the fact that we're having questions regarding the Iron Sheet saga, this has been one of the biggest trends. Times you realize that most of the people who are actually getting into the entire picture, or most of the ministers who were put into the spotlight over this saga were those from the NRM government, and some of the people in there still asking the president to come out with the answers, with the fact that most of them are his cabinet ministers. Now, also besides that, you realize that with this particular saga of the iron sheets, someone may actually say the minister, that is Chitutu, is more like a sacrificial lamb that was put in the spotlight to at least suffer on behalf of the others, because the others also need to be questioned, because the list has got quite big names on it, and who are yet to be censored as much as she was. And well, as we turn our eyes now to the old Kira Road, definitely now, as you can definitely see on the screen with the traffic updates, the kind of atmosphere there does look to be a boring one because the roads don't seem to be busy. It is a public holiday. And this is what you expect, especially around this time in the morning. And by the kind of observations in back in the time, you realize that only it's on public holidays, traffic normally starts picking up late in the evening at around 4 p.m. But in the morning, simply because everyone is just resting from a week of work. You know, you've been working from Monday to Thursday, waking up earlier. Now it is a Good Friday morning time. You know, it's time for you to rest, have time with family, and try to, get back to working, getting back your modes of work, trying to, rejuvenate your spirits of work. It is, it is better when you're having this time to rest, resting off work, because rest is quite fundamental and should be a priority for any working person out there. But as you can see now, the old Kira Road, that is a lane that connects you to the Logogo bypass, a lane that connects you to, or the same traffic lights that connect you to Ntinda, Bokoto, Kamocha. So those are the, when you look at that, the entire area, that street, or those particular streets do look busy on a working day. But such a day like this one, Good Friday, you do realize it is quite evident that it's not a busy business day. Not that it's not a business day. It's not a busy business day. And someone once told me that there are countries that never rest even in the night. It does seem like Ugandan, the kind of calendar for Uganda is that we do take public holidays quite serious, because they are public holidays anyway. And then also you realize that our business time is always timetabled. For example, if someone opens up shop at around 6 p.m. they are closing. Most of the businesses closing at around 9 p.m. So 10 p.m. to around 1 p.m. is nightlife, and the nightlife is only characterized by those in the entertainment industry or those who actually operate eateries on the streets of Kampala and neighboring districts in there. But the old Kira Road, as you can see, streets are not busy, empty, and the observations that you normally experience in the morning, where you see traffic officers deployed heavily on the road, it's a public holiday, you can easily see no one on there. And only because there is a police station around there, which is the old Kira Road station, Kira Road police station. You again realize that is the only space you can easily notice a police officer. But now there are less traffic officers, very few vehicles. You can easily see 1 or 3 vehicles in an interval of 3 to 5 minutes. It is only the borders that are really on the road, few taxis today. That goes back to the fact that the economy does look like today morning, it is not that active as of now. It's only maybe those who are actually doing online transactions here and there. So that is what is coming in from the old Kira Road in terms of the traffic updates for those who intend to kickstart off your day. Well, it does not seem to be busy. There is not a busy street this morning. So regardless of the time you wake up, you can easily reach in time in Kampala. And of course, as you can definitely see some observations, it is Good Friday, and activations have already kicked off. And remember, today's Christian doctrines, that is for the Catholics and the Anglicans, the Day of the Cross as well, that will be kicking off at around 3 p.m. And that's it for the traffic updates. As we're heading into the break, though, remember to invest and kickstart off your investments with Zabu. Zabu is a platform by Otex East Africa where you can invest in government bonds and other securities by using the USSD code *292# and kickstart off your investment with the platform. Remember, with Zabu, it's a no hassle. You can easily go deeper in understanding what it is in the world of financial markets. Investment is very possible. The markets on the platform open at 8:15 a.m. and they do close at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. And also please note that these markets are fully closed during the weekends and on public holidays. Zabu is a platform that is giving you that as an advantage. Dial *292# register with your need, and by Tuesday rather, you will be able to invest, because these markets are only open during working days and fully closed during the weekends and on public holidays. Zabu, my money, my future. After the break, we shall be heading to Karibu, East Africa, and also look at what is happening from the world of international athletes. Good morning.